Good evening and welcome to a new edition of To The Point. This evening, in the wake of celebrations marking the Sinai Liberation Day, we'll be discussing the strategic significance of Sinai for Egypt. With us this evening to shed light on this issue is Major General Essam Nazamy, former advisor to SCAF. A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
With us also this evening is Dr. Hassan Wagih, who is a professor of international negotiations. A pleasure to have you with us this evening. Sinai captured a lot of headlines as of late, not just in terms of the economic reforms or the developmental projects that are involving Sinai, but also due to different political perspectives regarding issues pertaining to Sinai. The strategic importance for Egypt as far as the national security is concerned, because it still seems that some people are not aware that Sinai is really the backbone of security for Egypt, so to speak.
I'm very happy today that we are celebrating this event. It is very important for the young generation to see this festival or this celebration, which happened yesterday in Alexandria and in Abdin Square in Cairo. Sinai is very important to us and very important historical land. It is a connecting zone between three continents. Not only Africa and Asia, but also Europe. It is the front door for invading Egypt. So Sinai, we suffered from securing and protecting Sinai. We lost thousands of Egyptians to protect the country, to regain Sinai. It is also carries a historical background regarding the three religions, the Jewish, Christianity and Islam. So it is a very important area. It is up till now, I consider it a virgin area that can be explored or can give a lot of billions of dollars for the economy of Egypt. So I think that our government and our president changing the concept of leaving this area was only 1.5 million of Egyptian, and there is many projects to attract investment in this area. I think the coming day is very important for Egypt and for Sinai.
Dr. Wagih, how do you see the importance of Sinai for Egyptian national security?
Of course, as he said, our friend said, it is very strategic. It connects continents. It is the most important and significant thing that I'm so happy today to participate in celebrating that day. The day of victory, the day when we regain the entire Sinai. This is something that is very important, and it's a source of pride for every nationalist and for every authentic Egyptian. And I would like also to say that this place, among other places, what we call the border parts of the country, in Sinai and in the West Desert and in the South, the previous regime really neglected these parts. And I think the real celebration, if we'd like to celebrate, we have to understand that there was some sort of negligence, some sort of abandoning these strategic three spots, I would say Sinai, West Desert, and the south of Egypt. These three parts should be given the focus of our attention. Because if we would like very much, especially in this kind of situation where we are meeting unprecedented challenges when it comes to terrorists and chaos theory and some people who really would like to reformulate and redistribute the whole area their own ways, I think Egypt to stand strong and proud should address the three places When I talk about Sinai, I talk about the three border parts. The three are very important.
Gentlemen, do you think that with our reform programs that are encompassing the development of Sinai, which, as Dr. Wagih was saying, was neglected in previous regimes, does this stop outside ambitions to meddle in Sinai?
You know that,
I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible.
you know that because of the importance of Sinai, they implanted terrorism in this area. They want this area to be unsecured, unsafe, intentional.
No man's land.
Yes, in trouble. How it comes that suddenly we discovered that this terrorist group will arm it and appeared suddenly. If we go back to our recent history, in 2007, I will tell you something which is not secret. It is written also in the internet. That when we will make a training between our army forces and the American army forces, the leader of this army forces always saying, we don't like you to train as army forces, normal army forces facing enemy. No, you have to be trained against terrorism.
Okay.
And it was shocking for our leader at that time. Why? At 2007. Why? It is not our duties. It is the duties of police, security officers, and there is no terrorism in this area. And now we discovered that it was a plan to make this area always in tension, in trouble, and in fight, so that you are exhausted. You lose some of your officers and soldiers, you lose some economy, some money, or whatever, and so this area will be not safe for living. This is the problem, but thanks to God that our army forces are aware of this scenario, and this is, you know that the old regime was thinking that leaving this area with empty is for the security of the country, that we will lose money because there is a trouble in this area. Another theory says, no, if you put a high population in the area and you invest, this is for the security. It is two theories. Yes. And I think the correct theory that we have to invest in this area, to make some infrastructure, to make some companies, some resort, some agricultural land, something like that. And I think the coming day will be very important, but this we should put it in consideration that we have to be careful, because our enemies will try to stop this dream. We have all to be care about the coming days, because you know that they are against this theory, they are against this investment. We have all of us to be careful that we are in danger because of our enemy. Will try to stop this dream, but it will happen. I'm sure that it will happen with the Egyptian and with our government and with our president.
Dr. Hassan, in the past, not only did we neglect to develop Sinai or the Sinai Peninsula, but we somehow always managed to not make the people in Sinai feel part and parcel of Egypt. And this was clearly evident after the January 25th revolution, when you felt the fragmentation and the danger, to the extent that they managed to penetrate. Terrorism managed to easily penetrate the Sinai Peninsula, maybe because of that. Do you think over the past few years, our reform policies have managed to make the people of Sinai part of Egypt again?
Actually, this is a great effort to be exerted. It needs to be exerted. There was a good effort that was exerted already in that direction. And let us, when we talk about Sinai and talking about terrorism penetration, let us say that Sinai is safe, especially in the southern part. But what we are talking about Sinai when we are talking about the international channel like this, we'd like to tell people that only small parts of Sinai, but the Egyptian army is in control. And actually, the Egyptian army has already paid a lot from the souls of its officers and soldiers. But I think it gained a very unique experience, and it is developing itself in a way that would really have the upper hand, and all the time have the upper hand, inshallah, in Sinai. And one of the most important things regarding the two theories mentioned now, the theory of development is very important, but let us remind ourselves, during the attrition, war of attrition, the war of attrition, there was a very nice slogan. In Arabic we said يد تبني ويد تمسك بالسلاح, which is one hand for the arms and one hand for building the country. And our economy was good. If you go back to an interview conducted by the New York Times with Gamal Abdel Nasser, they were very astonished that the economy is stable. So I think we have to seek what kind of economy that would enable us, and we have to reorchestrate the whole thing. When it comes to this, what kind of economy that would help us do the two things? Because it is incumbent upon us to deter the aggressor and to show deterrence. And whenever anyone tries to thwart our operations for development, we should give him a very good lesson. I think Egypt succeeded in the war of attrition, and we were capable of preparing the whole country economically and militarily till we crossed the Suez Canal and liberated Sinai.
Yes.
So the secret word, what kind of economy? What economy that would stand for this? I think there are types of economic activities, and we should elect and choose what could be.
You don't think
good.
we have managed to identify what kind of economy, as you were saying?
Of course.
Have we done this? In your opinion?
I like very much to invest in tourism, but if I put all my eggs in one basket, and terrorism and just one bullet, it turns off the whole thing. This is, I think, a mistake. And I have called upon many people long time ago in many articles, let us build the economy that would enable the country to play the game the two ways and not to be exposed that way, because we are jeopardizing our chances of development when we are trying to focus on one particular economy without protecting it. And I think we can do that, inshallah.
Dr. Hassan, Major General Essam, do you think we have identified our competitive edge when it comes to Sinai? Because really this is virgin land and you're starting from scratch, so either you start right or you will suffer for it.
I want to confirm something or to stress over the point of safety of Sinai, and that Sinai is completely safe. I was there, enjoying time there.
Right.
It is very safe area. But for some scenarios, they want to focus that this area is not safe. But the area which we suffered from terrorism is very small, localized area near Gaza. So this is an important issue.
To say, yeah.
Yes, this is important issue that it is, let us say, 5 kilometers square maybe. Very
On the
localized.
borders with Gaza.
And the border, and this is the reason why this area is not safe, because they dig some tunnels and they put some weapons and they made some terroristic attack against our army forces for some political reasons and some international shows to stress over the unsafety of this area. But Sinai is completely safe.
Why do they want to, I will get into the economics a bit, but since you're saying that there is a strategy to prove to the world at large, it's not to prove to us as Egyptians, but it's to prove to the outside world that this is not a safe zone. Why? What benefit from this?
You know that if we go back to our liberation, the generation which succeeded to liberate Sinai from the war 1973,
Yes.
the Israeli and the American thought about a new scenario because they signed peace treaty. How can we destroy this country? So they start to make a game that they will destroy it by invading the society with some NGOs, human rights and the Freedom House and the Republican and whatever the names. And they will brought the terroristic group from Afghanistan to make some scenario. They did it in Syria and they did it through Gaza. So the aim of this, it is a part of war. It is a part of war. The war has different tools. You can do it with military, with economy, with terrorism, with different kind of tools. So it is some sort of war. They want to destroy the economy of Egypt. They want to destroy the tourism. They want to destroy the stability of the country. It is some sort of war. We have to be sharp in declaring this. This is a war, actual war.
And?
So we have to be aware that we are in a war and we are stand strong beside or in the back of our army forces until we succeed to overcome this type of war.
Will it end? So long as certain interests are
the
there.
scenario is changing from time to time. You know that they are trying to make some scenario to make the price, the dollar in exchange for Egyptian pound. They are making some, some criminal acts somewhere regarding the Russian aeroplane and something like that. It is a different scenario. So that the main goal or the main target is to try to distract this country economically. So, and psychologically also. So we are aware about this scenario. I think all the Egyptians now aware of this scenario. We are in an actual war, but in a different kind of war. What they call is the fourth generation of war, the fifth generation of war, whatever the scenario. I think we are aware of this scenario now. And this is the goal. This is the answer for you. This is the goal because we succeeded to regain Sinai. 60,000 square kilometers. We regained it first by war and then by negotiation and peace treaty. So we succeeded to regain our land. So they will never stop in trying to invade the country and to make some chaos by attracting some poor people or something like that.
Dr. Wagih, your point of view.
My point
You were
of
smiling when I said, who's interested?
Actually, who was interested? I mean, Sinai, you can look at it historically speaking, yes, since the Hyksos, a long time, the eastern gate of Egypt, if you read its history, you can find what we call the eastern flank theme in political science. All the people who would like very much to invade Egypt, they don't come from any other places but from Sinai, historically speaking. So we have to care about this eastern flank. But again, in addition to what was said, which I agree partially, because I don't want, let me have the other point of view displayed. I don't want to be engulfed totally by the issue of the fourth generation war and fifth generation war, despite the fact that I wrote about it. One of the first people who wrote about it, I wrote about it. So I have conviction in this, I'm not neglecting this. But again, let us try to see that in Egypt we have to adjust a very complicated, very multidimensional equation. I need international cooperation. So if I need international cooperation, I would not try to think along one dimension, thinking that I'm being a victim, being attacked all the time, the people are having no job but to get me flanked and to destabilize the country. And Of course, there are plans, and it's very clear, as the general said, it is clear for everyone, and the Egyptians became aware of this.
Yes.
But I don't want to be engulfed by this, because this is the long history of the country. We have been exposed to certain types of war like this, but how Egyptians were capable of building a great civilization. They did the equation. Cooperation, defense, and not to play the victim, and to play the victorious, the person who really would find somehow identification grounds, even with those who would like to demolish or to do some sabotage or subversive acts, in a way that is with resolve, with principle, the negotiation, with deterrence. I can protect my country without getting the victim image, because I'm against it. And I'm so optimistic, and I feel that we will have the upper hand, and despite all these challenges, and the leadership of Egypt these days are doing its best to adjust this equation, to have international cooperation, and even with anyone you feel you're suspicious of him, but you can put a stop on his behavior, rather than being in this victim and being victimized all the time. Maybe I am wrong. But this is my point of view.
But we didn't mention that we are victims, but we are trying to be aware or to wake up or to say to the international community.
We have to be, you have to be you have to be on guard.
We are in a war.
There is a very good room for us to move in the other directions, and to have our international discourse geared towards different channels, rather than every time I'm saying something, even to the people whom I'm trying to make strategic relationship. You are the enemy, you are trying to kill me, you are trying to sabotage me. I don't think this kind of discourse would be successful. Maybe I'm wrong too, but this is my point of view.
But we wanted to mention this because we have to clarify for the international community that we are aware about the scenario.
Yes.
We will succeed to escape from it.
Inshallah.
We are stand strong with our president, our army forces. We will never surrender. We will never stop fighting for our stability and safety. We are the land of civilization, the land which protected the three religions, the land which harbored all the immigrant or all the people from different countries. We are the land of civilization. Actually, we are the land of civilization. So we want to clarify this for the people, and as you mentioned, and we know that we will escape from this scenario, because as I mentioned before, I was in Syria last year to attend an international conference combating terrorism. And I have seen what happened in Syria, actually. And so Syria is was a peaceful land, and they did the same. They wanted to make the same scenario in our country, but we are aware, and we, through this channel, say to the whole world, Egypt is a safe country, is welcoming all the people, and the French president said, come to Egypt and visit Egypt, it is a safe country. So this is very important. A president, an elegant president of France, mentioned this statement. Egypt is very safe. Don't see what is happening in many satellite channels which are fighting against Egypt or trying to share in this scenario. Yes, we are a safe country. We are living peacefully. We are welcoming all the people, welcoming all the investors, welcoming all the supporters, everything.
Gentlemen, since we addressed the issue of how Egypt's international relations map is sort of changing, I mean, since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took office, he's been diversifying international relations. We always had a weak spot, which is intra-Arab relations, not we as in Egypt, but we as in Arabs. Recently we've seen a strong movement between Arab and Egyptian leadership, especially the Gulf. We've had King Salman in Egypt a few days ago. Today we have King Khalifa of Bahrain. I believe that the Moroccan king as well should be arriving in Cairo early next week. Will this push Arab relations? Can Egypt push to strengthen, to consolidate efforts among Arabs? Because so long as we're divided, we will always be easily penetrated, if I can put it that way.
I think you're right. A very important angle we have to stress is the intra-cultural communication among Arab countries, and I think the leadership has already exerted a great effort in trying to reform and repair what was remained out of the Arab system itself, especially the movement from Egypt to the Gulf and the other way around.
Yes.
And I think that one of the most important things that Egypt should be keen to do is to try to give a new spirit for the Arab League. The Arab League, and I have gone through a very nice experience with my son. My son in Ain Shams University, and a group of people formulated something called Arab League model. And I was really filled with optimism when I saw those young Egyptians who would like to put a new plan for the Arab League and try to seek new horizons for unifying the Arab countries in a very out-of-the-box ways. I was interviewed by someone nearly about what's happening between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis and stuff like that. And he asked me who can be the major play. I said, Mr. Ahmed Abul Ghait. Ahmed Abul Ghait supposed to play his role from now. He's not supposed to stay in the shade
until he comes into office.
Till they integrate. I told them, ask him to do shuttle diplomacy with this kind of conflicts, to settle these conflicts and disputes. And if he does this, he will give a new soul and I would call for him, if he listens to me, with all due respect to his person, I would like him to see doing this shuttle diplomacy from now, because the consensus was on him. People all over the Arab world said that he is the person to be guiding the Arab League for the next few years. So I would ask him, and I would ask the Egyptian leadership, and ask all the Arab leadership, is to try to think differently.
Do we have the political will? Because in the past, it doesn't seem that we all recognized the grave danger.
Let me say something about this. I thank you for attending, throwing this on the table now. The will. Of course, when there is a will, there is a way. But who is going to do it? We have been using the word empowerment. And it was for the last few years, women empowerment. Despite the fact that women are empowered.
That should be now men empowerment?
No, I would say self-empowerment.
Yes.
I need something, the self-empowerment, the most important thing needed in the Arab world. And if we have someone who is guiding the Arab League and he has this self-empowerment, and I saw him doing settlements from now, not waiting till the post is officially inaugurated, I would think he will cultivate well, and he would show modeling. We need models. We need people who really act in the way derived by themselves. If we are talking about our generals, who is Abd Manam Riyad, in the very dark side of the defeat. The whole people were defeated, but not Abd Manam Riyad, who really stood like that and tried to reformulate the whole thing, repair the whole thing. And he starts saying that the enemy is going to get the Ras al-Ash and the Pearl Fuad. When, after 3 weeks, when there is no army, but there was a will of a great general and the great generals after that, who really stood up very quickly.
Yes.
Who empowered them? It was self-empowerment. This is in neuro-linguistic programming. We are talking about self-empowerment. And this is a key word for the Arab disputes, because we have no choice but to stand united and to stop and to be capable of thwarting the attacks and the plans being designed for enhancing these disputes. I don't want this to see.
What I want to say is that I rely more on our president, actually, not on the Arab League, because you know that for some reason, for some political reasons, there is some bad relation between different countries. And I find that our president is trying to regather the Arabic country, especially the Gulf area,
Yes.
with his own effort, which is something very important. Because you know that we suffered, that Libya is suffering from some chaos, and Sudan is divided, and Iraq suffering from chaos, and also Syria and Yemen. So I think that our president is trying to solve the problem in the area step by step. So this is very important. I rely on him actually, and on his effort and on his political negotiation to try to solve the problem between different countries and to regather the Arabic world, because the safety of Egypt and this is the safety of all the Arabic area. This is very important, his effort and his duties, and I hope for the safety of the area that the problem in Syria should be solved very fast, because it is the front door of the safety of our area. And the last point I want to mention is that we are regaining the atmosphere of the war 1973, that the Arabic country start to regather together and some sympathy appeared between the different countries. This is the same scenario. They did a war, or there was a war in 1973, and as I mentioned, we are actually in a different scenario, different kind of war. But I found that our president succeeded to regain the power of Arabic country with some sort of meeting and negotiation and agreement and something which is very important. And what I want to mention to regain the power, the self-power, the media.
Of course.
The media. In 1973, why we was stable?
This was a different
Yes, we were stable because the media
Was stable?
was at that time. At that time, you know that everyone is helping the army forces with some sort, the taxi drivers, everyone.
But the problem with the media, you cannot really control it, because the social media really is overpowering everything.
But yes, you have to control it also, but you have to play on this aspect. We need an Arabic channels, patriotic and Arabic channels which raise,
build
the
spirit here.
Yes, the spirit. It's very important, because without patriotic media, every economic investment or every you cannot. You don't know what is happening now in Sinai. You don't know what is happening in Upper Egypt from our army forces making some factories and our government making some bridges and something like that. Without the media, how can you trust and build the spirit? How can? Without a patriotic media. This is very important issue. And I discussed with you several times. This is very important.
Yes. Gentlemen, it's good to work on Arab relations and it's debatable whether it should be the Arab League role or should be President Sisi's or Egypt's role. But one fact remains on the ground, that you have two outside powers, if we can put it this way, who have an eye on this region with a different agenda. You have Iran on one side that wants to divide and conquer and regain or rebuild the Persian Empire, and you have Turkey on the other side that is interested in rebuilding the Ottoman Empire. And unfortunately, even amongst us Arabs, some are on this side, some on the other side, and it is really a destabilizing factor. I mean, the example is what's taking place in Syria, for example. I mean, this is a sign of how we can let the outside meddle and destroy
I can bring back all these discussions with what was said now in terms of who is to play the major act and what kind of media should we do, these two important elements. I think that our president is doing a great job, definitely, in trying to unify the Arab world. But again, I'm calling upon him and calling upon all the presidents of the Arab world to create a system, because what we lack is a system. The individual is great, and the individual leader is very inspiring, and we need him. But again, when I mentioned Ahmed Abul Gheit, I didn't mention Mr. Ahmed Abul Gheit for his name, only,
for his position,
but for his position and for creating a new system. What we need, a system game. If everything is systematized,
can we create a system with those two countries meddling?
It is very difficult. But
and some Arab countries list.
It is very difficult, but again, even with the president efforts, great efforts, he has to do his own, using his own talent, and he is talented in doing that. But again, he should also establish the system and help all the elements that would establish the system, because even his background in the military is great. Our Egyptian military is great because it plays a system game. So the system game should be cultivated in the Arab world. When it comes to the media, we have to understand that the control system, as the general said, is very needed to raise the morale of the people, to stop this kind of despair and frustration cultivated by other sources. But again, let us be realistic. The playground is so different, and we cannot do anything to it but to adapt ourselves and to adapt our strategy to do it. In the 1973 war, which was great media, because the media played an excellent role, but if you are talking about the media over there, it was for all over the world. You have 3 or 4 channels and the newspapers, and you can easily control that. In Egypt in particular, we had channel 1 and 2 and the 3, it closes maybe, and we have also the radio, and we have Muhammad Hassan who reiterating the same policy every Friday, and everyone is reading this manuscript, so we are gearing in one direction. But this is all over the world. You have to think of not controlling the media, but how to play another game, influencing the media. The game of influence, because the social media, you cannot control it all over the world, but you can influence it. In what way? It needs a great deal of strategic minds, and how to play a game without saying I'm controlling or shutting off. I'm trying to influence and to try to neutralize and to try to not to let the others have their own plan implanted in my youth and in the internal front, making this kind of frustration and despair, which is a great 2 words being used in the 4th and 5th generation wars. Definitely. But let us have an influence model that would neutralize those people and to try to cultivate a new spirit and a new modeling. So it's a complicated game, it's a multi-dimensional, and it needs a system game also.
This is well said when it comes to the media, but let us not forget that the media, the capital, controls the media. Let us look at the origins of who is funding.
Right.
Even the social media, where is the origins, where do the origins come from, and who is funding? Basically, you have strong lobbying tools, either Zionist lobbying tools or otherwise, and it's mostly the Zionist capitalist lobbying tool. Do we, and this is also here a test of the will, do we as Arabs have the will to lobby?
We must have it.
Yes, this is, I didn't mention that.
Because countering it is through lobbying.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a strong social network. You don't have a channel, an English-speaking channel that reaches out to the whole world coming from Egypt, except one which is Al Jazeera, and it has a completely different agenda. Do we have the will to lobby?
This is an important question. This is what I have mentioned. I didn't say that we have to control and shut down channel, but how can I express my feeling? How can I express my project or to tell the people the truth? How can I show myself for the world?
For example, showing the American taxpayer what is actually taking place here. And I'm saying the American taxpayer, I'm using this as a figure of speech because the American taxpayer, out of his taxes, is funding the military spending, which the administration and Congress are justifying to the people. But this is what he is hearing from local media. Are we reaching out to this taxpayer to shed light that maybe he is not putting his money in the right direction? Or maybe he should be questioned.
We are in a game, we are in a war, we have to start because the I'm disappointed from the Arab League because what happened in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Libya.
Everybody is disappointed.
Yes, didn't attract
this is why we need a new system, a new Arab League.
How many conferences done to save the lives of the Arab? Nothing. Right, so this is something I didn't rely on. So we are in a war, we are in a game. As you mentioned, we have to construct a media channel that to show the Western country and American what the truth about what is happening in the area, and also to build the spirit of our country. This is very important. We are in an actual game, constructing or building the spirit of the people is very important.
Right.
We have a few minutes to wrap up, but before we do so, we still did not address the issue of the two key players who are meddling in this region and maybe even being manipulated to meddle in this region, which is Iran and Turkey, and they're dividing the Arab rank and file. We have to be honest with ourselves.
I think Turkey is part of the NATO, so they are making the agenda of the NATO, the agenda of the Israelis, the agenda of the Americans.
So I'm saying some are being manipulated.
So Iran also one of the American tools, because they use this, it is a weapon, it's like a weapon or a tool.
So is that why the ceasefire or the honeymoon between the US and Iran?
There was no tension between America and Iran. It used this country to, let us say, fight in the Gulf area for some reason. Yes. Iran is coming, Iran is hazardous, Iran is invading, Iran is doing nuclear weapon, Iran is wanting. So it is one of the American tools to make chaos in this, which is sharply happened in Iraq after distracting the army forces of Iraq. They left the area for the people from Iran to come and invade and to make some terroristic attacks and different. I consider Iran is one of the weapon or tools of the American tool to frighten the people in this area, and one day they can say, okay, Iran, go and play a game in this area. The two countries for me, Iran and Turkey, is some weapons or some tools which is used to make some chaos in this area.
What's your opinion?
My opinion is that I would not overgeneralize. I would like to seek avenues, because these three major powers, I agree partially with what was said, partially, but not fully, because if we have thunder of this maneuver, thunder of the north, Ra'd al-Shamal, I think we have the ability now to deter the Iranians or any similar power who would like to sabotage this area, to further sabotage the area. I think we are getting stronger now. I think when you are trying to reformulate this area, you could no longer neglect the Iranian power and the Turkish power, despite the differences, the deep differences with us. But we have to manage these differences, and I think we should try to neutralize these two powers. Unless we have these three, the triangle on a larger scale, we have the triangle which is Cairo, Riyadh, Damascus. It has to be regained again. Sure. But there is a larger triangle: Egypt, Turkey, and Iran, or the Arab world, Iran and Turkey. We have to find a way to manage our differences and to try to show the whole world, and to show them also in what way we could all gain a win-win, a far more better win-win result from our cooperation rather than confrontation. I think this channel should be addressed, and we should not keep them as enemies. I disagree with this.
When you say the triangle, can we take into consideration that Egypt, you're being fought on a daily basis in your national security issue. Riyadh is also starting to be dragged into a problem, and there's a lot of tension between Riyadh and Washington right now. And Damascus, well, what can I say?
I want to clarify the point, because we have no troubles with Iranian, sure. We didn't. We are not in a fight with Iran, actually, as Egypt but the American is using them as a weapon, because which was more dangerous, Iraq or Iran? They destroyed Iraq. They destroyed Iraq and left Iran, which is something very strange. This is the answer for this point.
Why is it strange?
This is because if we say that Iran
Iraq is one of the strongest armies in this region.
Yeah, so they destroyed. Yes, I mean, why the American, if they are interested to fight Iran why they didn't do it? Why they didn't? They destructed Iraq and left Iran, and for tens of years. It's also some political speech.
Let us say also that we had a madman called Saddam Hussein who really built up for his country and for the area. Let us try to see our mistakes also, because our mistakes are grander.
We say that it is mistakes, but I am speaking about Iran. For some years they are speaking about the nuclear weapons, the nuclear project of Iran, and the nuclear, and they did nothing with Iran. Nothing, but they used them as a tool or a weapon to frighten the Gulf area. This is something very important. We have to put it in consideration. And they left them to invade Iraq and to destroy Iraq. So this is very important. Iran, for me, it is one of the tools. We can make some negotiation with them, political negotiation. We can say that we are caring about you and you have to be care. But the American is playing a dirty game in this area, using the Turkey, which is part of the NATO, and the Iran as a weapon to frighten the Gulf area. This is something very important to clarify. This is very important. They did nothing against Iran apart from political speech. We are threatening Iran. We will destroy Iran. We will...
Those sanctions?
And nothing. So I think we have to start political negotiation, and I think the coming step, I hope...
Political negotiations with Iran? With
Iran, yes. So that we, for the safety of our country, we are in the same area. We have relations. We have economic relation. We can, let us say, fight against this scenario or the creative, destructive scenario with political negotiation. This is very important with Iran, especially with Iran.
Manager General Essam Nazamy, former advisor to SCAF, thank you very much for your fruitful input. Dr. Hassan, Wagih, Professor of International Negotiations, a pleasure to have you with us this evening. I'd like to thank you both for your fruitful input, and I'd like to thank you, the viewers. We'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.